The autumn air in Havenwood, Colorado usually carried the scent of pine and impending snow. The town, nestled in the mountains, was a picturesque haven, especially in the fall. The leaves turned vibrant shades of red, orange, and yellow, painting a beautiful landscape that seemed almost timeless. On October 17, 1998, it carried something else, a chill. The kind of chill that seeps into your bones and makes you shiver, even if you're bundled up. It was a day that would be remembered for its eerie stillness and the sense of foreboding that hung in the air. Amy Peterson, just 16, vibrant and full of dreams, walked out of Havenwood High that afternoon. The bell had rung, signaling the end of another school day. She was a junior, with aspirations of becoming a writer or maybe a teacher. Her future seemed bright, filled with endless possibilities. Laughter echoed in the hallways, lockers slammed shut, the usual hustle and bustle of students eager to leave for the day. It was a scene of normalcy, of routine. But for Amy, this day would be anything but ordinary. She waved to her friend Sarah, a casual goodbye. They had plans to meet up later that week, maybe catch a movie or just hang out at the local diner. It was a typical teenage friendship, filled with shared secrets and dreams. "See you tomorrow," Amy had called out, her voice bright. She had no reason to think otherwise. Tomorrow was just another day, another chance to live her life and chase her dreams. Tomorrow never came for their friendship. The plans they made would never be fulfilled. The laughter they shared would become a distant memory. She was last seen walking down Oak Street, her purple backpack slung over one shoulder. It was a familiar sight for the residents of Havenwood. Amy, with her distinctive red hair and confident stride, was a part of the town's daily rhythm. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows. Amy was heading home, or so everyone believed. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden hue over the town, but there was an unsettling feeling in the air. Her path home was familiar. She had walked it countless times, each step as known to her as the back of her hand, a route she had walked hundreds of times, past the same houses, the same trees, the same landmarks that made up her world, past the old Miller house with its peeling paint and overgrown yard, a relic of the past standing as a silent witness to the passage of time, past McGregor's grocery, where Mrs. McGregor always had a smile. The store was a cornerstone of the community, a place where everyone gathered and shared their lives. The town of Havenwood was small, everyone knew everyone, or at least they thought they did. It was a place where secrets were hard to keep, but some secrets were darker than others, or they thought they did. The events of that day would reveal just how little they truly knew. Amy was a fixture in this landscape. Her presence was a constant, a part of the fabric of Havenwood, her bright red hair a flash of color against the muted autumn tones. It was impossible to miss her, even in a crowd. Her easy laugh, a sound that usually carried on the crisp mountain air. It was a laugh that could brighten anyone's day. But that day, something was different. The air grew colder. The shadows deepened. It was as if the town itself sensed that something was amiss. Amy walked on, seemingly unaware of the eyes that might be watching her, unaware of the danger that lurked in the shadows. She was just a girl heading home, but her journey would take a tragic turn. Havenwood, Colorado was nestled high in the Rockies, a place where doors were often left unlocked, where children played freely in the streets until dusk. It was a postcard town, picturesque, serene, or it had been. Amy's disappearance ripped through the fabric of this idyllic community. Suddenly, the familiar streets seemed menacing. The towering pines, once majestic, now felt like silent, watchful sentinels. Fear, an unwelcome intruder, took up residence in Havenwood. It settled in the creaking of floorboards at night. It echoed in the worried glances exchanged between neighbors. The illusion of safety was gone, shattered like glass. The news spread like wildfire, first through hushed phone calls, then through frantic knocks on doors. By Saturday morning, the entire town knew Amy Peterson was missing. The volunteer fire department became an impromptu search headquarters. Maps were spread across tables. Concerned faces huddled together, voices low and urgent. Men, women, even teenagers fanned out across the surrounding wilderness. They combed through the dense forests. They peered down steep ravines. They called her name until their voices were hoarse. Weeks turned into a month. The days seemed to drag on endlessly, each one blending into the next. The community of Havenwood, once bustling with the energy of the search, began to feel the weight of time pressing down on them. The vibrant colors of fall faded into the stark white of early winter in Havenwood. The once lively streets, filled with the sounds of children playing and leaves rustling, now lay silent under a blanket of snow. Hope, too, was beginning to fade. Families huddled in their homes, peering out of frosted windows, wondering if they would ever see Amy again. The initial frantic energy of the search had ebbed, replaced by a heavy cloak of despair. Leads had dried up. The search parties, once filled with determination, now trudged through the woods with a sense of resignation. Sightings proved to be false alarms. Each new lead brought a glimmer of hope, only to be dashed by the harsh reality of dead ends. The police investigation, led by the small local department, seemed to be hitting a wall. Resources were stretched thin, and the officers, though dedicated, were growing weary. Sheriff Brody, a man who had known Amy since she was a little girl, looked increasingly weary. The weight of the case bore heavily on his shoulders, and the sleepless nights were beginning to take their toll. The case files grew thicker, filled with notes, interviews, and dead ends. Each page a testament to the exhaustive efforts made to find Amy, yet none bringing them any closer to the truth. It felt as though Amy Peterson had simply stepped off the face of the earth, leaving behind only questions and heartache. Then a break, a glimmer of hope in the form of a phone call. On a cold, windswept morning in late November, nearly 6 weeks after Amy disappeared, a call came in. The voice on the other end was hesitant but clear. From over 200 miles away. The distance seemed insurmountable, but the details were too specific to ignore. A truck driver making a stop at a desolate rest area near Burlington, on the eastern plains of Colorado, found something. His voice trembled as he described the scene. Tucked behind a dumpster, partially covered by blowing tumbleweeds, was a purple backpack. It was weathered, as if it had been there for some time. Its canvas material was dirty, scuffed. The elements had taken their toll, but the backpack was still recognizable. But the color was unmistakable. It was the same shade of purple that Amy had loved, and a small faded keychain, a silver unicorn Amy had treasured, still dangled from the zipper. It was Amy's. There was no doubt. The discovery was both a relief and a new source of anxiety. The discovery sent a fresh shockwave through Havenwood. The news spread quickly, and the town was once again abuzz with speculation and hope, and a renewed, albeit terrified, surge of activity for investigators. The case, which had seemed so cold, was now burning hot with new possibilities. Burlington was a flat, open landscape. The vastness of the area presented its own challenges, but the discovery of the backpack was a beacon of hope in an otherwise bleak situation. The investigation now had a new, stark focal point, the journey from Havenwood to that lonely rest stop in Burlington. This route, seemingly mundane, now held the key to unraveling the mystery. Every mile, every turn, was scrutinized by the detectives, who were determined to uncover any clue that could lead them to Amy. Detectives meticulously tried to piece together a timeline. They analyzed phone records, surveillance footage, and even social media activity, hoping to find a digital breadcrumb that could point them in the right direction. Who would have traveled that route? Was it someone familiar with the area, or a stranger passing through? The questions were endless, and the answers elusive. Who had access to a vehicle? They checked vehicle registrations, rental records, and even local repair shops for any unusual activity. Every lead, no matter how small, was followed up. The small Havenwood police force, overwhelmed, requested assistance from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. The case had grown too complex, too demanding for their limited resources. Suddenly, new faces, new resources descended upon the town. They re-interviewed everyone. Amy's friends, her teachers, her family. They left no stone unturned, hoping to find that one piece of information that had been overlooked. Her teachers, her family. They asked about Amy's habits, her routines, her fears. They wanted to understand her world, to see if there was something, anything, that could explain her disappearance. They probed for any detail, any forgotten memory, that might shed light on her disappearance or the backpack's mysterious journey. The pressure was immense. The community felt the weight of the investigation, the constant presence of law enforcement, the unending questions. The silence from Amy, deafening. Her absence was a void that everyone felt, a constant reminder of the urgency of their task. Several individuals came under scrutiny. Each one was questioned thoroughly, their alibis checked and rechecked. There was a transient man who had been seen near Havenwood around the time Amy went missing. His presence was suspicious, but he was just one of many leads. He was questioned, but had an alibi for the crucial hours. His story checked out, but the detectives couldn't afford to dismiss anyone too quickly. A local delivery driver whose route sometimes took him east was also looked at closely. His vehicle was searched, his movements analyzed, every aspect of his routine was scrutinized. But nothing concrete tied him to Amy. Whispers circulated in town, theories and suspicions grew, but solid evidence remained elusive. Names were mentioned in hushed tones, old grudges, strange behaviors suddenly seemed more significant. The community's trust began to fray, as everyone looked at each other with new eyes. The tight-knit community began to look inward, wondering if the evil they sought was not an outsider, but someone among them, hidden behind a familiar face. The search for answers had only just begun, and the road ahead was long and uncertain. Years have passed since Amy Peterson vanished. Today, in 2025, her case remains open, a cold case. But for those in Havenwood, and especially for Amy's family, it is anything but cold. It is a raw, unhealing wound, a constant ache in the heart of the community. Sheriff Brody has long since retired. New investigators have inherited the heavy files, now yellowed with age. Periodically they review the evidence, they explore new forensic techniques. They hope for a breakthrough, a new witness, a deathbed confession, something, anything to bring closure to the endless nightmare. The town of Havenwood has changed. The unlocked doors are a distant memory. A certain watchfulness has settled over its residents. Children are still raised there, but with a heightened sense of caution that didn't exist before Amy. Her smiling face on the aging missing posters, still visible in a few forgotten corners of town, serves as a somber reminder, a testament to a life interrupted, a mystery unsolved. For many, especially those who were teenagers alongside Amy, her disappearance marked the end of their own innocence.